Good afternoon, students. I hope you're staying safe at home. Very good. Today, we are going to deal on friction. And this friction is particularly for JS1 class. So wherever you are, my students, listen carefully. Last term, we treated force. And as I told you then, there is no way you can see this force. There's no particular thing you say, this is force. But in your day-to-day experiences and activities, you keep feeling the effect of this force. For example, you see this rubber ring, or you call this rubber band, anyone you feel like. This rubber band will continue to be in this state unless you do something to it. That is, unless you added force. Now, if you want to stretch this rubber ring from here to the other end, and you say, rubber ring, or you stretch, you find out that the rubber ring will just be watching you. It will not do anything until you do what? You added something. That thing will call what? Force. When you add the force, you can now stretch the rubber band. As you're stretching it, you'll also be feeling that the rubber band is trying to pull itself back against its original position. That particular pulling it back to its original position is also force. Again, for example, this particular can now, this can, you can change it to another shape if you add something. You cannot say, can, I want it to change to any shape you want. No. But as I add force, you can see, this now changed from its cylindrical shape to another form you can best explain. The same thing goes. I know some of my students are footballers. Though you are girls, I know you play very well in school. Then, if you want to play a ball, you are not trying to pass the ball. You tell your teammate, hey, ball, pass to my teammate. The ball will just be looking at you without going anywhere. The only thing you are going to do is to do what? To kick the ball. As you are trying to kick this ball, you are adding something to the ball. This ball initially, it's in a state of rest. It's not moving until you kick it. By that kicking, the ball starts moving. It moves from that point you kick it to another destination while you're playing the ball. Now, your opponent, because while you play the ball, your opponent will try to do what? Kick it back. When you now play the ball, your opponent at that side can drop it down or can play it. Once it plays it, the thing will change direction. If the ball is going forward and your opponent down there plays it back, it will move what? It will move backwards. Now, it has done what? It has changed its direction. No longer going forward, but now backwards. Someone can just, as the ball is coming, use its her chest or his chest, or even with feet, trap the ball down. The ball has stopped. All those things are being done by something, and that is what we call what? Force. That's why we say that force is that which changes the what? The state of a body at rest. It causes a body at rest to move. It causes a moving body to change direction, or even cause the body to do what? To stop. Force can also change the shape of the body, as we've demonstrated with that empty can. Another typical example is this. I know most of my girls at home, you have doors now, is it not? Or is your house ajar? No. If you come to the door, you want to go out of the compound, or you want to come inside your room, you just stand in front of your door and say, door, open, I'm standing. That cannot happen. It can't. Unless miracle will happen one day. I've not had such miracles before. You must have to do what? Either you push or you pull. If you push the door opens. If you pull the door does what? Closes. That is force you added for that thing to move. That's why we also define force as a what? A push or pull on a body. Again, my students, I know some of you do fetch water at home. You carry your barrel and move to the stream or to the borehole or wherever. Now you fill your gallons with water. You now put them inside the barrel, trying to take them home. Before you push that barrel out, something happens. And I know most of you will be recollecting now what is happening. When you pull your barrel up and try to push it out, something is happening. The barrel refuses to go out. Are you not asking yourself what is causing this barrel not to go out? Then you will say, oh my God, you just doing like something like You add more force. You are adding force again now to move that barrel. Why are you adding that more force? There is another force that is opposing the movement of the barrel. There is a force that says, no, this barrel will not move. I want you to be at a state of rest. And you say, no, this barrel must get home. And it is that force now that says, no, this barrel will not move. It's what we call what? Friction. And that is exactly what is on the board today. Friction. So my dear students, we are going to treat this particular topic, friction. What is friction? Friction can be defined as a force which opposes the motion between two surfaces in contact with each other. If you are putting it down, listen to me again. I said, friction can be defined as a force which opposes the motion between two surfaces in contact. Now, whenever you are defining this friction, for it to be acceptable to any marker or to anybody that is marking your script, there are some key words that must be there. You must tell us that it's a force. It is a force that opposes the motion. It must be there. After defining friction, I don't put that force that opposes motion, it's wrong. And another one, it occurs when two surfaces are in contact. Very important. For friction to occur, there must be two surfaces. And that surface must be in what? In contact. Now, that friction will do what? Will now prevent that body from moving. So listen again carefully. I say that friction can be defined as a force which opposes the motion between two surfaces in contact with each other. I hope you are there with me. Now, if you don't know anything, know that friction is a force of opposition. Remember last time we treated something like gravitational force? That one is a force of attraction. But today we are seeing a force that opposes motion. That's what we call friction. Now, we have types of friction: static friction and kinetic friction. I said static friction and kinetic friction. If you don't say static friction, you can call it also limiting friction. That's another name for static friction. Now, kinetic friction can also be called dynamic friction. Now, what is this static friction? Static friction is that maximum force that must be overcome before a body can just start to move over another. I would say that is that force that must be overcome. Like for instance, you know when you want to move that your barrel, that your wheelbarrow, you loaded with kegs of water or with gallons of water. When you pull the barrel up, you try to apply force for it to move at that particular force in time. That particular force you overcome at that time, you just pull the barrel up to move. It's what we call the static friction. That friction must be overcome before that body can just start. The body is not moving though. It's still at state of rest. So for that body to move from that state of rest to its destination, you have to overcome that friction. That's what we call static friction. Now the body is already moving. One thing is that there must be a force that will keep maintaining the motion of that body. Else, the body comes to a stop. So, that particular force that must be overcome for the body to keep moving with uniform speed is what we call kinetic friction. That one is kinetic. Remember? We talk about kinetic. Remember your kinetic motion? Something that is what? Moving. So get me again, that dynamic or kinetic friction is a force that must be overcome so that a body can move with what? Uniform speed over another. If you don't understand this thing, listen very well again. Static friction, from the word static, it is at rest. There is force that is opposing the motion, provided those two things are now in contact. Remember, the wheelbarrow is in contact, the wheels of the barrow is in contact with the ground, is it not? Beautiful. Once these two surfaces are in contact, friction is already acting. Now, I want to pull out this barrow to make a movement. You must overcome that friction that is already there. Because it's that friction that makes that particular barrow to be standing at that rest. So that force you overcome so that that barrow can start to move is what we call static friction. As you are moving your barrow now, you are moving. For you to continue moving, there is a force you are also adding for the barrow to be moving. Just take for instance, assuming you are tired while you are pushing this barrow. When you become tired, what happens? You just keep everything. The barrow will do what? Come to a halt. That one that makes the barrow to keep going in its uniform speed is what we call what? Kinetic friction. Don't forget. I know some of your daddies, they have car. Your daddies have cars. When you enter your daddy's car, you see that when he's trying to start the car, something happens. For him to move that car, he cannot move that car without applying a force. He does that with a particular component of the car called the throttle. When he matches it, the car moves. Now, as your father is now climbing a hill, something happens. It's not that particular force he uses in moving in a ground that is smooth without hill that he will use now to climb a hill. For him to do that, he has to change a what? The gear. Adding more force so that he will move up. Else, that opposition force, that force of opposition will do what? Will draw him back. That's why at times you see some cars that will go small, we just say boom, 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 go. You change, boom, 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 boom. Else, you see the thing doing what? Going back. That's friction for you. Now, this particular friction we are talking about, as if to say that this friction is so bad. No. Friction is also a good thing. It has some advantages. It adds to us. That's where we are going now to the what? Advantages of what? Friction. Now, my students, what are these advantages of friction? Number one, friction enables us to walk and stop walking after getting what? Started. Have you asked yourself, how do I walk? How do I stop walking? It is all about what? Friction. Just take for instance, assuming that particular car is in your house. I know so many of my girls are living in a well beautified and furnished houses. And let's just take that your daddy tiled his houses, even the floor. Then somebody mistakenly poured oil on the floor without cleaning it. Or a detergent, a water that has detergent inside was split on the floor. And you never knew that such water is there. You were passing. What are you expecting? You slip over. That's when you just slip and fall down. Because what? That place has no friction again. The friction has been reduced. So have you seen why it's important? Friction enables us to walk and stop walking after getting what? Started. It is an advantage. Another one is that friction between the car wheel and the tarred road prevents the car wheel from slipping on the road while moving on it. Glory be to God. Some of my students, their fathers are rich. Even though your daddy does not have a car, I know you've seen a bus. You do board that bus to come back to school, to go to church, to go to market, or even to go to ShopRite. I know you love going to ShopRite, even to go to ShopRite. Good. Then that particular bus, have you checked the tires of that bus? There are some patterns that are drawn on those tires. You're not asking yourself, this pattern, what are they for? Those patterns you are seeing now on that tires, they are not just put there for a play or what. No, they are intentionally made for a particular purpose. That's for it to do what? Enable that particular car to move without slipping or without causing accidents. How does it do that? When that particular tire is on the ground, it will make a firm grip with the sand. That particular patterns you see there will be making a firm grip with the sand to enable that particular car to move. That's why when you see those cars that do not have those patterns again, if the driver apply brake at times, the thing will just continue to move. You say, nah, the car has failed brake. So that's why when you're entering car, also we're checking the tires of the car, that they are good though, so that you make sure that, yeah, this car will move and it will stop moving if brake is applied. Else, there might be accidents because there's no friction. Remember, I told you that friction between the car wheel and the tar road prevents the car wheel from what? Slipping on the road while moving on it. That is the reason, at times, if you carry those cars that their tires does not have these patterns to a muddy area, and unfortunately for you, it might rain that day, or it has already rained, if you are moving with that car on that particular road, sorry, that one is complete accident. In fact, it's better for you to lock yourself and wait till 3 days so that the ground gets dried. Because the ground itself has no friction, it's slippery. The car itself has no pattern to make a firm grip with the ground. Everything will be slippery, slippery, slippery. Before you know, your car continues to go till where it enters. Anyway. Another one is that friction enables the brake to stop the moving car when applied. When you are moving, I know some of you are in a car, at times you've been even in the front car. For those of you that their daddy does not have car, you've been in the front car. When the driver is moving, you just apply the brake and the brake will do what? Bring the car to a stop. Friction also is used in grindstone to sharpen the knives. For example, some of us that are still making use of stone at the village, in the village, if you want to sharpen your knife, you do what? You'll be moving it up and down on that particular stone. As it's moving up and down, it will be wearing away some particles from that knife, making the knife to be what? Sharpened. And friction also enables us to hold our objects tight. Without friction, I cannot hold this thing. Remember also, my student, that anything that has advantage has what? Disadvantages. Friction also has what? Disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Disadvantages of friction is number one, it retards motion. Because of friction, most of our cars will not move as fast as they want to. Another one is that friction causes wear and tear. I would like you to know this one. Wear and what? Tear. How? Wherever you are watching me, my dear students, I want you to raise up your slippers. Turn the back of the slippers. In fact, the bottom of the slippers, turn it. Are you there with me? Beautiful. Now, check those patterns on your slippers. Are they still the same thing as the day your daddy bought it for you? That shoe you are putting on to go to church, is it the same thing? Most of the patterns have worn out. They've worn out. And before you know it, they still start doing what? To get spoiled. That's as a result of friction, because you continue to match it on the ground. Another one is that friction generates unwanted noise. Some of us have barrows at home. When your barrow, you don't apply oil on it and you are moving, at a time, you'll be hearing a unwanted noise, one bad noise that say, it's friction. That is the reason why it's doing that way. And another one is that this particular friction also makes everything to be expensive. Because as your car is getting damaged, you will do what? You will go to repair it now. As your slippers is getting torn, you do what? You will repair it. That's friction. Again, it reduces the efficiency of the what? Machine. Note those points. They are very, very important. Then, how are we going to do this to reduce this friction from all this havoc it's wrecking? What we are going to do is that we're going to apply oil or grease. That's our what? The ways of reducing what? Friction. That's what we're talking about now. Ways of reducing friction. What are those ways of reducing friction? Number one, by lubrication. What do you mean by lubrication? For you to lubricate, if you get those two parts that are always in contact with each other, you know those nuts in your daddy's car, you know those particular places, you know that wheelbarrow at home. In that wheelbarrow at home, that particular place, you have boilers, the wheel is moving around one particular iron all the time. You oil that places, put grease, put oil on those places. That will reduce friction. Another one is by using ball bearing rollers. I don't know whether you're seeing this thing very well, but I want you to watch. Watch this thing now. This is called bearing. If you look at this particular thing, you see it is moving on a particular iron inside here. Then we don't want this iron and this one inside to come together. If they do, there will be retardation of motion. There will be generation of unwanted noise. Then we'll use all these small things inside there at the rollers. Then we use the ball bearing. That's what we call this one, ball bearing. With this now, you see, this surface of this particular iron and this surface cannot come together. Rather, they will just be going on those rollers around here. That's what we talked about. That's one. Very important. And finally, by designing that particular body in such a way that it will be what? Streamlined. What I mean by being streamlined, it will be smooth. Not just smooth, it will have a particular shape like a fish. If you watch the fish, the reason why the fishes were able to swim through the water is because their bodies are streamlined, smooth, and in a particular shape. This is as this particular shape they are will make them not to have much surface area, because that surface area will make them to have to overcome either air resistance or whatever, which is friction. So because of that, that's why if you see some cars this time around, they are built in a particular form. Some of them they are shaped smooth. The reason why all those things are being done is for that particular thing to move freely without what? Friction. All these things we do to reduce friction. Thank you, my dear students, for listening. Remember that after everything, you must go back and know what is friction. You must define friction. You must differentiate between the static and kinetic friction. Don't forget to mention some advantages of friction, most especially that it enables you to work and stop working after getting started. Don't forget the advantages of friction. Please get them. They are very, very important. Remembering number one thing, that friction causes wear and tear, just as on your sole of your slippers and other things. And also the method of reducing friction. With all those things, you are well grounded on this particular topic, friction. I believe when we come back home, we will put it in song. Thank you, my dear students, for listening. I still remain Sondonko Perpetua, basic science teacher.
You know where